Hi there, welcome to Long Distance Review, and on this week's episode I'm going to look at the new album from Swedish metalers Avatar. Avatar were formed back in 2001 and hail from Gothenburg in Sweden, and certainly their early material echoes that Gothenburg sound we're all very familiar with, bands like In Flames. It has that melodic death metal feel to it. But then by 2012, Avatar started employing the more theatrical side of the band, let's say, the more prog metal-y side of the band, avant-garde side of the band, and they started wearing this costumes, and Ekestrom, the vocalist, was wearing this makeup, this sort of clown harlequin makeup look. And from then on, the concept of Avatar sort of shifted, and they explored this concept of the band, and that eventually culminated in the album Avatar Country in 2018, which really was them disappearing completely down this world they created, and it was a bit too gimmicky, comedy at times really, for my taste. I found it a bit too gimmicky is a word I'm going to come back to a few times, I think. But yeah, I wasn't that keen on it then, to be honest with you. But saying that, I did see Avatar in 2018 at Download Festival. I remember walking past the stage and looking up and thinking, oh yeah, it's Avatar, I remember them. And yeah, they were pretty good actually. The music was really good. I wasn't so into the look around them or anything like that, but I thought some of the tunes were really good. So I do think something's there. But then you think about image in metal, gimmicks in image and looks in metal, and plenty of bands employ them. You have to think, are Slipknot going to be the biggest band in the world like they are at the moment? Well, in metal, if it wasn't for their masked look that they came out with originally, probably not. Would Marilyn Manson have been the biggest band in the 90s and 2000s if it wasn't for his look? Probably not. So I do understand image and that it's important, especially in heavy music. But so it's interesting, then we get to this 8th studio album that they're releasing, Hunter Gatherer, and they've kind of stripped it back a little bit from where they were. Not completely gone, but it's certainly stripped back from the zenith that they reached on Avatar Country. And for that, there is now a more serious and darker album than ever before. It's a much more realistic album, looking at the world around us and where we are heading as a human race and the sort of utter chaos and darkness we could be heading into. And that interests me a lot more. Album opener is the song that I heard before the album came out. It's the first time I'd ever really heard Avatar and thought, man, that's really good. It's a song called Silence in the Age of Apes, and it's this thunderous opening with these galloping drums which pummel the listener behind these barking vocals from Ekestrom. It's a whirlwind opening which only continues with the second song called Colossus, which has this industrial stomp which it's just as heavy as the opening track, but whereas the pace on the opening track is the heavy side of it and relentlessly pacey, the second track, Colossus, relies much more on a Rammstein industrial stomp. And both of these were singles off the album, and both are excellent songs, and it's kind of a clear indication that Avatar are stripping back to a more heavier sound on this album than before. Not that all the madness has gone. You get to the third song, A Secret Door, and it ups the theatrics and madness to the levels that Avatar were known for before. But instead of relying on these theatrics and gimmicks and concept to gain traction on the song, this song is a 6-minute prog anthem, which could be the best thing on here. Ekestrom's vocals sit nicely between this power metal, high range, and the barking vocals that he can do, and it sits nicely in the middle, and you combine that with the tonal shifts that they do on this song, it really pronounces the song a lot more. There's a sort of sense of dramatism and climax with that song that I really enjoyed as well, and the song itself is a real joy, I thought. And there's a Blink and You'll Miss It cameo from Corey Taylor on that song. If you didn't know he was on there, you would never guess. he does the whistling.
Am I in the way? I would do what I must to make sure that our treasures are hidden. Move with the currents just one more day.
Without the circus and gimmicks, what's left is actually a better band in my eyes. It's the songwriting which is allowed to shine, and it's much more focused, it's less conceptual, it's less scattergun in fact, and it's more direct. But this album isn't without its diversity, and whether that is a good thing and whether it works is completely debatable. You get to a song like Scream Until You Wake, which delves into the power metal territory at times, with Ekstrom flexing his high vocals on that song. And if I'm honest, it treads a really too fine line, which can fall into glam metal at times, especially on the chorus on that song. And it's saved by a couple of really good solos and the tonal shift that Avatar put into a lot of songs. Then the centerpiece of the album is a song called Child, which I feel like they wanted to put right in the middle as their big sort of centerpiece of the album. And unfortunately it starts off like this marching band, this umpire bound sound, and they juxtapose it with Ekestrom's growling, barking vocals, which kind of jars the listener and I don't think works particularly well. But the song is elevated with these gang vocal choruses, which pushes the theatrics of the already circus-esque kind of song to another level. It's not a bad song, but to have it as like a centerpiece of the album, I feel like they wanted it to be the big song of the album, but doesn't really work as well as they wanted. I felt at this point of the album that, although I'd really enjoyed it so far, I was like, oh, is this going to slip away, this album? Is it going to just be not as good as I wanted it to be, basically? I really enjoyed the dark vibe around the album, and I enjoyed the concept of looking at self-examination, examining the world around us and reflecting that, and I thought that really worked. You get a song like Justice, which piles in with this blistering verse and this playful bass work on there that I kind of enjoyed, but it isn't interesting enough on the chorus to really stand out. And then we get to a song called Gun, which is this piano-led ballad, which is really unlike anything Avatar ever put out before. It also sits amongst Avatar's heaviest work, so it kind of stands out like a sore thumb. It's an honest and heartfelt piano ballad, and for 4 minutes you kind of forget all the makeup and the concept and the theatrics around the band, and you're kind of swept away with Ekestrom's honest and emotional vocal work on here. And although his vocal work doesn't completely sound great across this song, it's vulnerable and emotional enough for it to work. I thought it was a really good track, actually. Then they follow that up with the obvious choice of sticking a 3-minute punk banger after it, because that's, you know, metal album track listing 101, and it undeniably works when there's a decent enough song. And then closing track on that is a song called Wormhole, which closes the album off, and it's a much more grooving Behemoth affair, big lumbering number of a song, and which again shows the diversity and sort of sprawling ideas the band has. Although flawed in places, this album, and far from perfect, this is probably my favourite thing that the band have ever put out. Stripping back the concepts and theatrics, but leaving the interesting and sprawling musicianship actually works really well for me. Sonically, it's heavier than its predecessors, but less all over the place, actually. And when it works on songs like A Secret Door, Silence in the Age of Apes, Colossus, it's a fascinating and enjoyable album. I think this would really work live as well, and if we ever get live gigs again, I'd like to see this. If you've never looked at Avatar before, never bothered with them because of the look of them, the gimmick, the concept, maybe give this a whirl. It might be your kind of thing. If you are more into that Avatar country sound of it and you really enjoyed that, then you may be a little bit disappointed with this, let's say. Let me know your thoughts on the album, and I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks very much.